could go back and look at the tape. My first 5 shows on January 6th were like, well, yeah, it's bad, but I don't think you're telling the truth about what actually happened. Shut up! Racist! What? So that's always the key for me. If it's like an infection, you know it's infected when it hurts. You press it. You recoil. They immediately recoiled when you asked any questions about January 6th. And that was a tip-off to me. I mean, I had no thought in my head as I watched this happen on television and in the subsequent weeks that U.S. law enforcement or military agencies had anything to do with it. That never crossed my mind. I never thought it was a false flag or anything like that. I'm not a conspiracist by temperament. I never thought that. And then I interviewed the chief of the Capitol Police.
Capitol, can you confirm that the FBI had that sort of engagement with your own agents embedded into the crowd on January 6th?
If you are asking whether the violence at the Capitol on January 6th was part of some operation orchestrated by FBI sources and or agents, the answer is emphatically
You're saying
not.
no?
No.
You're saying no?
Not
Okay.
violence orchestrated by FBI sources or agents.
Are you familiar with you know what a ghost vehicle is? Director of the FBI certainly should. You know what a ghost bus is?
A ghost bus?
Ghost bus.
I'm not sure I've used that term before.
Okay. Well, it's pretty common in law enforcement. It's a vehicle that's used for secret purposes. It's painted over. These 2 buses in the middle here, they were the first to arrive at Union Station on January 6th, 0500. I have all this evidence. I'm showing you a tip of this iceberg.
Mr. Chairman.
These 2 buses are painted completely white.
Point of order.
Point of order. Sure.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about January 6th, okay? The day that the mainstream liberal media said is the worst day to ever happen in American history since 9/11, okay? This is the most political violence that we've ever seen in this country, okay? I mean, apparently they didn't see the BLM riots, the Antifa riots, etc., that had happened in months leading up to January 6th. I would actually argue that the BLM/Antifa riots were a precursor to January 6th. I don't think that January 6th happens unless the Antifa/BLM riots happen, because the Antifa/BLM riots basically, in my opinion, opened the door to January 6th happening, because it set the precedent that, hey, apparently it's cool, right? It's okay to, engage in violent behaviors for a political cause. However, again, the narrative around January 6th, which is different than what happened with BLM and Antifa, is that the mainstream liberal media painted BLM/Antifa as, no, it's mostly peaceful, right? Mostly peaceful, okay? Fiery, but mostly peaceful. On January 6th, though, it was no. Violent and no peace, right? Everybody that went into the Capitol that day was super violent. These are insurrections. They need to be thrown in prison, and they need to throw away the key, right? However, again, that narrative seems to be falling apart. Again, as Speaker Mike Johnson has released the 44,000 hours of January 6 tapes to the public, for the public to see, and then the public can come to their own conclusion about what they believe in regards to what happened on January 6th. And I tell you guys, this is 44,000 hours, so clearly, obviously, I have not been through all of it, right? But the clips that are getting the most attention tell a different story than what the mainstream liberal media is telling in regards to what happened on that day. Again, it wasn't just all violence and chaos and destruction. Apparently, some of the people that are being persecuted for what happened on January 6th, it seems to me that they were kind of set up, right? They were kind of just led into the Capitol. They were given a tour and then arrested for what, again, seemed to be a tour sponsored by the Capitol Police. And that is what this footage here is going to reveal, and it's going to destroy the narrative that has come from the liberal media and the January 6th Commission, which I think at this point, these people should be thrown out of Congress, considering how they did not tell the full story. So I want to talk about it. I want to show you guys some of the clips, and we're going to get into it. But before we get into it, we have to have a word from the sponsor of this video, BioTrust. When it comes to anti-aging, we are all looking for that miracle pill. Generally, you need to try multiple products that target different areas of the skin to fully combat the appearance of aging. Some supplements may attempt to reduce wrinkles, while others may bring back firmness to sagging skin. Believe it or not, I have found a solution that removes the need for juggling with multiple anti-aging products. It's a special type of collagen, and it's better at maintaining skin elasticity, reducing visible signs of aging, and promoting a youthful complexion than most anti-aging products I've seen typically found on store shelves. Tens of thousands of 5-star reviews back up the notion that this collagen is not only a modern day fountain of youth, but that it also removes the need for us to use countless serums and anti-aging supplements. Most importantly, you can save 53% for this month only. Plus, for a limited time, you'll receive free gifts such as free shipping, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, free VIP live fitness and health coaching for life, and a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, all at no extra cost to you. Go to healthwithpatriot.com, that's healthwithpatriot.com, or click the link in the description down below before this once-in-a-lifetime deal sells out. Yeah, so as you can see here, this is footage of people basically being just let out, right? Very peacefully, okay, out of the Capitol. Nothing super crazy. Again, I'm just saying, I don't know in what world, do you think that all these people should rot in prison, right? I'm not sure exactly what world does people think that that's fair, but again, this is the world that we're currently dealing with. And then we go down here. What you have is people walking into the Capitol with the police, the Capitol Police right there, right? No resistance whatsoever. Again, I don't see any violence or destruction going on here. Now, again, why is this important? Well, it's important because during the January 6th commission, the clips that were showed basically tried to justify persecuting anyone that went near the Capitol that day because apparently everybody was violent. Which, yes, there were violence. Yes, there were people that, did attack police officers. We have that on tape, that broke windows, that vandalized property and stuff like that. But that wasn't everybody, right? And everybody that entered the Capitol that day was not an insurrectionist. Some people were actually just let in. Proof right here. Now, again, this is something that should have been shown during the January 6th commission if it was not a partisan witch hunt, which we know that it was. So they didn't show this stuff, right? Again, I've seen left-wing protests much more intense than what they're telling us that happened on January 6th. I mean, I've seen recent left-wing protests, okay, that have been much worse. Like, again, look at this. The police are just guiding them in. Again, at this point, I would call this a Capitol Police-sponsored tour. Just letting them in. Not stopping them. They're just kind of marching in. Here we have another one. Police just walking by. Walking by the insurrectionists. So apparently these cops didn't feel threatened. Right? Apparently these cops didn't feel like their lives were in danger. Or that these people, would try to harm them, anything like that. Let's check out this one. Yeah, so again, what are we seeing here? Okay, you got men and women peacefully walking through the Capitol. Again, I don't see people being violent. I don't see them, causing destruction and chaos. Again, not all of them, obviously. I think there's an argument to be made that, yeah, I mean, listen, it was wrong to enter the Capitol, okay? But, if you're being let in, which some of them were by police, right? They didn't forcefully enter. They were just straight up let in. Then, again, I don't understand how they should be or why they should be punished for that, right? Especially considering how you have left-wing protesters, like, for example, what happened with the pro-Palestine protesters that overran Congress. Did they overtake police to get into Congress, right? Some of them did, some of them didn't, right? But they all went into Congress, okay? They all went in, and all of them were not arrested. And a vast majority of them are not going to be sitting in prison for 10 plus years for walking into the Capitol, right? So I'm just saying, clearly there's a double standard here, okay, in regards to what's going on. And this one right here is extremely interesting. As the police seem to be walking the guy that they arrested. And again, this is supposed to be an insurrectionist here. They're taking off his handcuffs. He fist bumps the other officer. Again, this is supposed to be an insurrectionist. Now again, hey, I'm not making any crazy claims here. Okay, I'm not, going to go full conspiracy theories here. But somebody tell me under what situation does police arrest the guy, take off his handcuffs, and then they turn around and they fist bump each other? Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Amazing. A fist bump. As if a good job, right? Good job. That's what you give a fist bump for. Good job. So yeah, there's a ton of footage out there like that, right? Footage of the police letting people into the Capitol, okay? And also police, being friendly with the people, right? Giving them a tour, right? What seems to be a tour. That's what it looks like. Fist bumping them, dapping them up, handshakes, what's up, buddy? How you doing? What's good, right? There's a ton of footage out there like that. Which, again, completely goes against the narrative that we've been told for the last 3 or so years ever since January 6th happened. Which it was the worst day ever, right, since 9/11. And I can tell you right now, I can think of, left-wing protests that are much more violent than what happened on January 6th. Now, again, clearly there are things that, were violent that did happen on January 6th. Okay, now I got questions about, how that violence was allowed to happen. But, hey, that's a different video. Regardless, you have people who have been politically prosecuted, okay, no due process, that are, rotting in jail, in prison, simply for walking into the Capitol when they were let into the Capitol by police. Now, again, we hear the left during the BLM protest say, well, everybody wasn't violent, right? So, again, can you imagine the reaction if police had locked up every BLM protester, even the ones that were peaceful, that just happened to be there, okay, while others were committing acts of violence? Could you imagine if police did that? Could you imagine the outcry and the rage that would be happening in this country if that happened? I mean, in fact, allegedly, BLM protesters got paid for that, right? The ones that were not violent, but they got roughed up by the police a little bit, they got paid, right? They got paid for it. So, it's just funny, the clear, double standard in this country. But I think the thing about these tapes being released, the takeaway that I'm getting the most out of this, because we already knew that this stuff existed. We already knew that they didn't want to release the tapes because they knew that the tapes don't fit the narrative. It's the fact that Kevin McCarthy, who was Speaker of the House, right, before getting ousted, refused to release these tapes. And he did not fight hard enough to have these tapes released while his own constituents, his own people, the party that he claims to represent, to be the leader of, was getting politically persecuted, while a narrative was being spun by the media, smearing everybody on the right, everybody that supports Trump as some insurrectionist or, violent individual or person. And he refused to release the tapes. Even after promising to release them, he was like, no, I'm not going to release them. He allowed the January 6th Commission to just smear his side of the political aisle, right? People that he claims to represent, and he did not do enough to fight it. And just the release of these tapes by Mike Johnson tells you that, Kevin McCarthy should have been ousted, right? I mean, it was justified to have him ousted, because there's some people that say, oh, there's no difference between, the new speaker and the old speaker. Is like, well, this is the difference. The difference is that Mike Johnson kept his promise. He said, I'm going to release the tapes, and he released the tape. So again, with that being said, I think that what we've learned here is that the January 6th Commission was a farce, right? They didn't show this. This is not the side of the story that was told because it was completely one-sided. All they showed were the acts of violence. They didn't show the people being led into the Capitol, right? And again, if they would have shown that, they would have, put that out there to the American people. Do you think people would have thought that it was right? It was okay to just arrest all those people and throw them, in jail, with no due process? Of course not, right? But the way to justify locking up your political opponents for nonviolent acts is to basically paint each and every last one of them as ultra-violent individuals, right? And then, you collude with the media in order to continue to push that narrative, and that's what happened. And because of that, I think all of them, all of the people involved in the January 6th Commission should be removed from Congress. I really do. I think they should be removed from Congress because they hid evidence from what was supposed to be a bipartisan and objective kind of, investigation into what happened that day. You didn't include footage that, again, would have exonerated a lot of these individuals, which tells you everything you need to know about the party that's supposed to be against the criminal justice system being corrupt like this, right? They spent all their time rioting and protesting in the street against what is currently happening to the January 6th protesters, right? But when it comes to January 6th protesters, now all of a sudden they support that, right? They support a corrupt criminal justice system. They support not giving people due process, right? They support, these sentences being handed to these, protesters that are unjust, right? But again, they spent a whole year literally rioting and destroying things over this. But again, when it comes to their political opponents, though, we don't really care, right? We don't really care about the criminal justice system being corrupt. It's truly amazing stuff. Again, I think at the very least, this is justification for Kevin McCarthy being fired. And it really shows you that the narrative around January 6th clearly and obviously was politically motivated. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.